Hello and welcome back to Leuven, where we've got Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen, the tournament leader and the runner-up, facing each other in the penultimate round.
Absolutely. Huge game. And for Wesley So, who had a very credible result in Paris, this game is critical for his outing in the Grand Chess Tour. Again, Magnus Carlsen, being the wild card, will not play in the Sinquefield Cup or the London Classic. So he cannot win the Grand Chess Tour and defend his title this year.
Yeah, so we'll miss him, but that means that for different players, how he stands is significant. I mean, I guess most of them actually want him to do well.
Exactly.
If I'm not going to do well, at least have somebody do well who's not going to be competing against me.
Exactly. Rob the points. And let's turn to Eric for his impressions of this penultimate round.
Thanks, yeah. So, I'm also following the game between Carlsen and So. I think if you're Wesley So and you see the way Magnus is playing, you just want to, hold Magnus because Magnus is having a erratic day, and he, as long as Wesley keeps doing what he's doing, he's playing solidly as black, and he's winning some key games as white against the other competitors. So, I think here, just a solid result and get ready for tomorrow.
Absolutely. As you see the players getting prepared, Wesley.
But one thing that's interesting is Nakamura has been playing okay today, but his score isn't that impressive. Like, he didn't just storm back. I noticed a lot of people.
He's just improved his play dramatically for this second Grand Chess Tour event.
That's right. He does seem like he's getting into his own. A lot of these players, when you see them in person, you see like so much energy around them.
Yes.
Like you don't always see that. That's why it's good for you to go to the
Did you see that handshake? And that was not a high energy start to the game.
Very perfunctory handshake, I must admit.
They don't have any beef though.
No. They just seem tired.
Let's get on
Tired?
with it. And Slav, Bishop G4, Queen B3 by Magnus, and Queen B6.
What a relaxed pose.
Yeah.
Yeah, Magnus does this kind of pose a lot, doesn't he?
It'd be demoralizing to lose to somebody so relaxed.
And he is playing really fast. Some of the other games he's super slow down in the opening, but taking a different tack here and trotting the moves out quickly.
Indeed. All very well-known play. Wesley, one of the most experienced players in the world with the black side of this position, and he just played this move G6, G5. One of the things that you really have to be worried about if you're black in such positions, after G5, if your knight ever has forced to the square H5, then you can get your knight permanently imprisoned on the king side. So G6, G5, an important move to stop white's ideas of G4, G5, and F2, F4. So I think the position is still well known. We're in theoretical waters, and it's a balanced position. Now, with this move, Rook D1, what Magnus has done is he's fortified this pawn on D4 to allow himself the opportunity to play E3, E4. This bishop on C1 is a passive piece, so you want to break open the position for the bishop, give it a diagonal on which to develop. So Rook D1 preparing E4, and Wesley has to make a decision. I was about to say the decision he has to make is where does he want to put his king? Queenside, kingside, or leave it in the center for a while. He played the move Queen C7. Well, I don't say knight takes G4 as a threat, but thanks to the rook still being on H8, there are ideas of sacrificing a piece in order to play Queen H2. So Magnus just double checking that no sacrifices are allowed.
Is Magnus calculating E4 here? I've seen the idea of playing, taking on D5, playing E4, and then playing D5 without even taking it back. So an example, CD5, let's say ED5.
Okay.
I play E4.
Okay.
And then let's just say DE4.
Okay.
Moves like D5 or Bishop G5 in that position and temporarily sacrificing the E4 pawn, just trying to activate the bishops.
Intriguing. And we did see the move E4, by the way, by Magnus after Queen C7. I'll just refresh my board for a moment. And instead of your suggestion there of
he
D5,
just took back, yeah.
There was just a massive swap. Now this bishop on E4 because due to the pawn on h3, it usually should come back, and Magnus quickly played his bishop back from e4 to g2, so there's no knight f6 type of issues. After the move rook d8, okay, the commitment is very clear. Wesley is going to put his king on the king side.
And white does want to play d5 at a good opportunity, but right now,
Well,
what's black to move?
I'm a little bit surprised that Wesley's taking some time on his clock here, because I think castles is a very straightforward decision, and he finally did do it.
So bishop e3.
To quote the great Elad Meshkowski, same move faster was better.
Bishop e3, rook ac1. Pretty natural play for Magnus here, but a very solid position for black. I want to say Topalov did a reverse Benoni, but the queens are off in that game, so it's not as crazy as it might seem.
You're referring, of course, to the game of Veselin Topalov and Hikaru Nakamura?
Yes, but
Yeah.
the queens are off, so it's not a crazy Benoni.
So, what is Magnus going to do?
Rook
Well,
c1 and d5, I think.
Yeah, Magnus got a proud possessor of the two bishops, wants to open up the position. d4, d5 is a natural idea for white in such positions, even at the cost of allowing a knight to c5. But you do want to open up the position for the two bishops, and very natural play so far. A little bit of pressure, I think, on Wesley. So,
Yeah.
a very intriguing idea is that with this pawn on g5, the square f4 is weak. If you could get in all of these moves, knight f8, knight to g6, and knight f4, well, it would be black assuming the initiative. But we have to be on guard that the move d4, d5 doesn't cause an accident.
And well, d5 would come immediately after knight f8.
Exactly.
For sure.
And it would cause an accident.
Well, I'm liking Magnus' position. I mean, I don't see how to stop d5. You can't play knight f6 because g5 is hanging. So d5 is coming, and it's generally favorable for the bishops.
Yes, that is actually...
I just simply like his position. I think it's a bit better for white with very easy play.
And he's ahead of the clock as well by almost a minute and a half.
Right. A suggestion I might have for black here is to play e5. The idea is to lock up the position. In case of e5, d5, probably not the best move. My idea was simply to lock up the position with c6, c5, trying to blunt...
But then d6.
Yeah,
I'll play
d6
d6 and queen b7 right away.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Yes.
so much for that idea. Okay, so...
But you're right.
You would have to play
Strategically-
bishop d6 there. That would be a
Strategically,
bit better.
yeah, black wants to close up the position. I just don't see how that happens, and white wants to open it up.
Right. Well, by the way,
So
he did
black
play
was
e5, d5. Oh, hold on.
No, he played-
I
queen
think that's...
b6, I think.
Those are my moves. I apologize. Let me refresh my board.
Magnus played d5 instantly, so
After queen b6, right?
you,
Yeah.
you get a
And we do
feeling
have a
that
trade
he's-
of queens. He's very
comfortable.
pleased with this opening of the
Why
position
not?
for his
Middle
two
game
bishops.
or end game.
If I'm
the
Wesley, I
bishops
might be
are
looking
sweet.
to bail out, try to figure out a way to maybe even sacrifice a pawn and get opposite bishops or something. But it's
He has traded on d5 once, and quickly the recapture was played by Magnus. Now, again, you'd like to play the move c5, but d5, d6 is coming, exposing the pawn on b7, and that's a big battering ram of a pawn on the d6 square. So he has chosen to capture on
well, this
d6.
is definitely a
clear plus.
clear advantage for white,
Absolutely.
and most likely it's going to.
Well, there
net
is the
a
tempting
pawn.
choice of bishop takes a7. The d5 pawn isn't running away. A lot of tempting
Bishop
choices.
d5, rook d5, bishop a7,
rook
and
c7, rook d5. A lot of good moves for Magnus. He chose one. Rook takes d5, one of the good options for him in this position. And Wesley So, under clear.
And taking his
under-
time, he's under a minute now.
Well, yeah, the decisions are not getting any easier. That is for sure.
I've had a similar position one time as black, and what I did is I just gave up a pawn and tried to get my knight to f4. I played knight f8, knight g6 or knight e6, and immediately just try to get it to f4 and try to provoke bishop takes f4. At least there's opposite bishops there.
And Wesley
Bishop
played bishop
f6.
f6.
So now bishop a7.
Bishop a7 occurred.
Indeed. That was
As long as Magnus keeps one pawn on the queen side, that's okay.
yes, that is key, certainly key to keep an extra pawn. Now knight e5,
Yeah. He might be going for it to play knight g6 in the future.
knight d3, knight f4.
That's also, yeah.
Yeah, just to get some counterplay. But you mentioned that you gave up one pawn. I think what Wesley has done is give up two.
Well, fortunately, it's only because white has double pawns that it's a
Yeah.
bit more acceptable. Because if white didn't have double b pawns, then
Just be totally over, right?
Right,
Yeah.
it'd be a huge advantage. So,
And
And
Magnus
rook
is
takes d8,
straighted
rook
and
takes
taken
d8.
on b7.
right, just collecting the goods. Rook c8 in the position to get the rooks off, and then there's just simply no counterplay.
yeah, there's no rook d7 here because you got rook c8 check and bishop e4 with tempo, so your bishops survive.
And
So now
knight d3, and now rook c8 is, clearing the field so that you've got an extra pawn on the queen side. Assuming b2 is going to be lost, black's only chance is to set up some kind of
Knight to
fortress on the
f4,
b.
knight to f4, maybe not though. Then the queen side
Well,
pawn.
So
Fortress.
instead, Magnus has played rook d1.
All right,
Same idea though. It's going
Yeah.
to provoke a trade of rooks.
exactly. So we're
Although here, what
Just-
happens if rook d7? You have to play bishop e3. If you play bishop e4, it's opposite bishops. I'm not sure I'm happy with that.
right.
So
Wesley goes
well,
taking his
rook
time here, 15
d7.
seconds. Let's hope he doesn't
yeah,
freeze.
rook d7, bishop e3.
That's maybe some defending chances, but he has not chosen that. He played knight b4 instead,
Well,
going
that's
for the dark square blockade. But I don't think this is
no.
going to be any happiness at all. Now we have the rook trade under better circumstances for white, and the move
Well,
bishop
you don't
c5
even-
looks
yeah, you-
very strong.
I mean, one annoying thing is if you play bishop f6, I'll play bishop e3. You can't take on b2 because g5 is always hanging. So it's the two pawns, even though they're doubled, it's going to stay that way.
By the way,
think-
Captain Obvious over here, 6 seconds for Wesley is he's really burned a lot of his clock, and bishop c5, and that is it. He just resigned.
A
that
very-
knight-
Wow.
Well, he resigned. He saw knight a6, bishop d6, and he was anticipating then bishop b7, trapping that knight on the side
So
of the board.
big win there by Magnus Carlsen.
A very one-sided game.
And a
Yeah.
quick blitz.